Everything that you want to see for the New Orleans Saints' new offensive system was summarized in one moment when Jamaal Williams made fun of the defense. We got all of that and a little bit of lagniappe for you on today's episode of Locked On Saints.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? I am your host, Ross Jackson, New Orleans native, your New Orleans Saints expert and credentialed member of the media covering those New Orleans Saints as a senior writer and reporter over at Saints News Network. And on today's episode, I'm going to tell you how the defensive line came to life in the final open OTA practice and how it was aided by two unlikely heroes. We're also going to take a look at how Demario Davis is not cutting corners by setting the standard in practice. We'll also discuss why that's very important. And to kick off today's show, it was one moment from Jamaal Williams that highlights the perks of the new offense. We got all that coming up for you on today's episode. We appreciate you so much for being an everydayer and for making us your first listen of the day every day here on Locked On Saints, which is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode of Locked On Saints is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Go and check them out today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. It was one moment when Jamaal Williams, after a big play by the New Orleans Saints offense, made fun of the defense that highlights everything about what this new offense is trying to be and confirms everything you want this New Orleans Saints offense to be in 2024. The New Orleans Saints connected after some motion on a play, which included a little bit of a cheat motion on the outside, players moving around, all that good stuff pre-snap. The defense got very confused. You had a fullback go outside. You had somebody else change sides of the screen, of the play on the field, all this other stuff. Offense snaps the ball. Defense is lost. Big completion down the field. And Jamaal Williams, who was sitting in the back watching all of this happen, laughs and shouts something to the effect of, I don't want to say that I'm quoting him directly because this happened during practice, but something to the effect of, they had no idea what was coming. They didn't know what to do. When I tell you that it is so refreshing to hear a comment like that from a player about the New Orleans Saints offense, you know how refreshing it is because you feel it too. How many times did you sit back last season watching the game on television and guess what was going to happen in terms of offensive play calls? How many times did you sit back on a 2nd and 10 after an incomplete pass and say, well, they're running it? That is not going to be the brand of offensive football for this New Orleans Saints team in 2024. It just simply will not be. And to me, that moment right there was indicative of everything that bothered you for the last couple of years, everything that you've been shouting should be changed or calling to be changed over the course of the past couple of years, and perhaps most importantly, everything that you have hoped for from this New Orleans Saints offensive approach with Klint Kubiak at the helm. This is what you've been waiting for. And for Jamaal Williams, who we know is very animated, right? Very animated, very outspoken, very open, right? Coming in as the running back that a lot of people have been trying to say has become expendable because of this very offensive system, is sitting back and basically telling you, man, I love this new offensive system. That right there was awesome to see. Because it shows you two different things, right? It shows you all the things that we just talked about, but it shows you two other things from the team perspective. First of all, the execution is working, okay? The execution's working. They're figuring it out and everything like that. I don't think it's going to be ready week 1, but can it be ready week 4? Can it be ready week 5? Those are the questions that the New Orleans Saints are going to have to really actually answer. The second thing that it's showing you is buy-in. buy in. Again, a lot of people have tried to sell this new offensive system as being the end of Jamaal Williams. I continuously contest that idea, because just because you have a wide zone offense doesn't mean that you all of a sudden don't run between the tackles anymore. Jamaal Williams still has a very carved out, very important role, especially as a guy that can also run outside, that can also catch passes. There's a reason why he's included in what ESPN just called a top 10 running back room. Alvin Kamara, Kendre Miller, Jamaal Williams. So I think that moment for me proved a lot. It proved everything that we talked about in terms of what you're looking for from this team, but it also just proved that this team's mindset right now, the confidence in the offensive system, is light years beyond where it was over the course of the past 2 seasons. Light years. Like, how many times I know Alvin Kamara came out before the season, started talking about like, oh, sneaky Pete Carmichael, all this other stuff. Like, he's an evil genius, man, and all this other stuff. But to see it in a moment where it happened I'm going to say in practice, but I mean in its execution, not literally in a practice. But to see it in a moment where it just worked so impressively well that the player that knows what's about to happen goes, and has a level of excitement around what the offense is bringing to the table now, that to me speaks volumes in terms of what the growth of this offense is set to be. The one thing that I wish we could see more of is what this run game is going to look like. It's so hard to evaluate the run game, but I know it's a lot more stretch runs. It's a lot more outside runs, a lot more getting outside of the tackle, getting into open space and all this other stuff. It's just so hard to really gather how effective it's going to be when no one's actually tackling anyone. But when it comes to the passing game, the motion, the play actions, the rollouts, you can see the impact of all of those things. You can see Chris Olave running wide open after beating Alontae Taylor in coverage on a big over route. I believe it was Alontae in coverage during that. But anyway, regardless of who it was, beating a player with that big over route and utilizing that speed. But it was because of the fact that a player opened up that side of the field that actually allowed for that to happen. It wasn't Alontae Taylor. Sorry, it was another corner in coverage. It was Rajon Wright. And so those moments where you can see, okay, this motion made these players move this way, and then these two routes complemented one another because this route pulled the defense this way, and together, because of the motion and that route, it opened up where this other route was going. You can just see it all come together. In that moment where Jamaal Williams legitimately made fun of the defense for not knowing what was coming, really, really gives you an idea of where this offense could be headed. Oh, here's what I'll say. It's right to have high expectations. It's right to be excited about what this offense could be, okay? If they don't meet those expectations and if they turn out not to be that offense, then you know they didn't live up to expectation, and that's okay. Because this offense has high standards for itself. And I'll tell you what, the defense has high standards for itself as well. And Demario Davis just simply couldn't take it anymore. We got that coming up for you as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This next segment is brought to us by our sponsor, BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need to get something off of our chest, big or small. Those things can really start to get to you over time. So it's important that you let those out, especially to somebody who's unbiased in your life. So today, I want to share about how I'm feeling about something, and you might be feeling the same thing this week too. Just after watching what the New Orleans Saints have been able to put together so far during OTAs, again, I'm not a merchant of hype, okay? But I do want to say that expectations around the New Orleans Saints being low need to stop being about their salary cap structure. Like, can we just stop the cap with the cap? Like, we're done here. If you're going to criticize anything, criticize what this team has been, but let's see if they can prove them wrong. Now, look, therapy is different for everybody. Most of us have much bigger problems than just our favorite sports team, but it's important to get those things off your chest every once in a while. So if you've been thinking about therapy, please give BetterHelp a try. I use it. I absolutely love it. It's entirely online, designed to be suited for your schedule and flexible as well. So visit betterhelp.com/lockedon for 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, family. Jake Haener connected in the back of the end zone in second team reps with tight end Juwan Johnson for a touchdown, and Demario Davis simply couldn't take it anymore, spoke up, and changed the entire trajectory of practice. We got that coming up for you as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints. We appreciate you very much for making us your first listen of the day every day. Don't forget to go and check out Locked On Sports Today's 24/7 stream. If you've been sitting through all the yelling and screaming of some of those other networks and you want to get away from that, tired of having to turn down your volume, go and make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, which you can find for free on YouTube, as well as on the Amazon Fire TV channels app. Program for you to give you all the biggest stories from the day with the folks that know those teams the best and actually spend time covering those teams. You can find Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and on the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Demario Davis is my definition of a true leader. I was listening to an episode of Locked On Commanders the other week. My very, 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 very good friend, David Harrison, hosts that show. And he spoke out about how, and I've talked about something similar on this show before too. Not my show, our show. This is your show too. About how being a leader and leading by example are two different things. Leading by example is a part of being a leader. You got to go out there and do the job in order to inspire other people to do the job. But being a leader requires more. It requires you to speak up. And that's exactly what Demario Davis did in the red zone drills, the second edition of red zone edition. Listen to me. The second reps of red zone drills. In the second edition of red zone drills. But like, there was a moment where quarterback Jake Haener connected with tight end Juwan Johnson in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. And it was in second team reps during the second sort of period of red zone team drills. Red zone was the big focus in Wednesday's practice. And so Demario Davis goes into the huddle of the second team and very loudly lets them know that they're not performing up to standard. He was saying things like, we practice the way we play. We have to compete. He said something along the lines of like, I'm tired of saying the same thing. Like he was tired of repeating himself. After that, here's what happened. Okay. After that touchdown and after Demario Davis said something to that second team of players, the second team offense ran to the right with Jordan Mims, went nowhere, stopped at the line of scrimmage. Then the third team took the field. A jet sweep to Jermaine Jackson picked up 0 yards, maybe even a tackle for a loss. He never even got the opportunity to turn the corner. Then there was a run with James Robinson to the right side that didn't get much. Then Spencer Rattler went to take 2 snaps in passing snaps. Not only did he not complete a pass, he didn't even get to throw the dang ball. He had to scramble because Isaiah Foskey broke up, like got into the middle and broke everything up. And then the very next spot, Jack Heflin got into the backfield, would have been a sack. They continued to play through. And then I believe it was Isaiah Foskey, but it's certainly another defensive lineman, broke right through again to get after to get after Spencer Rattler, which effectively would have been a second sack in that same play. In fact, after that play was done, Colin Saunders, who was standing in the back, right? Because he's first team, right? These are third team reps. He comes running out on the field saying, we got two on the same play. So just like Jamaal Williams was out there poking fun at the defense for not knowing what was coming and what to do and how to adjust, the defense was letting the offense know, especially after Demario Davis went out there and basically got everybody in line, that, hey, we see you. We got your number. The competition between the offense and the defense is going to be so much fun to watch in Cali. It's going to be so much fun to watch during training camp. And I don't want to get away from my core point, though. I'm going to come back to that. I don't want to get away from my core point. My core point here, though, is that Demario Davis is exactly who this team needs to build its identity around. Because the way that he went in and changed the entire complexion of practice by letting the second team defense know, and don't get it wrong, it wasn't the third team defense in the huddle, but they saw what was happening. They ain't miss it. You couldn't miss it. There was not a shot. Demario went in there and let them know this is not the standard. And what happened? They clamped right up. That was pretty cool to see. That's the type of player that you need. I sent this. If you're a Locked On Saints insider, you got all my notes from practice already. And one of the big things that I highlighted was this moment from Demario. And I had one insider reach out to me and say, well, shouldn't he be a Hall of Famer at this point? Like, what does he have left to do? And literally the only thing he's got left to do before he's in the New Orleans Saints Hall of Fame probably is retire. And you don't want that right now. You don't want that right now because the impact that he had on those players was true, viable. You could see it happen. Leadership, tangible leadership, not leading by example, not going out there and doing his job and hoping that other people see it and that they do their job too. No, he went out there and told them what the standard was, let them know that they were not executing up to that standard, and then everybody fell in line. It was awesome. It was really, really awesome. I'm sure you feel how passionate I am about this. Those are the moments in football that I absolutely love. The reason why I'm gonna get into a different thing here, but like the reason why I love these types of moments is because it's the same reason why I loved theater for as long as I loved theater until I couldn't love it anymore. Is that you get a bunch of people that are from different walks of life, different backgrounds, different experiences that are of varying degrees of pro, right? Not that they're unprofessional, but that like you're a rookie, you're a first year, second year, third year, so on and so forth. And they all say yes to the same idea. In that moment, the Saints second team and third team defense all said yes to Demario Davis. And let me also highlight that it wasn't just Demario Davis out there jawing. Demario Davis was out there getting bleep done too. He was out there getting stuff done. He had an interception in first team in the red zone. He had a big run stop at one point as well, and did a great job adjusting on a couple of different moments where he took plays away from the middle of the field in the passing game. So he didn't just talk about it. He beat about it. he was about it as well. So it wasn't just him going in there and demanding better from everybody else. He had already shown his standard on the field. He had already shown him meeting the moment on the field. And then he went out there and he called for everybody else to go out there and meet the moment too. And it absolutely worked. It absolutely worked. It was so cool to see. It was so cool to see. I was mentioning that these are the things that you want to see when it comes to raising the standard, right? And we've been talking about the offense and how this new offensive system challenges the defense. This is what's going to continue to raise the standard and generate that competition. I was saying that training camp, it's going to be so fun watching the offense go up against the defense. It's moments like this that solidify that bigly. Bigly. So I just thought that was awesome. I thought you would appreciate that. It exemplified another moment of buy-in too. Nobody looked at Demario sideways. Nobody told Demario that he was wrong. Everyone just buckled in and got better. And what more can you ask for? Speaking of what more can you ask for, the New Orleans Saints defensive line showed up big today or on Wednesday in their final open to the media OTA practice, including some contributions from two, let's call them unheralded players. We got that coming up for you as we continue on and wrap up today's episode of Locked On Saints, proud part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Saints brought to you by our friends at Game Time, the absolute destination for last-minute tickets. And it's not just the NBA, the NHL, the NFL when it rolls around, although that's definitely the place to go for your last-minute NFL tickets when the Saints season kicks off. But you also find concerts, comedy, theater, so much more over there as well. They got all-in pricing, so you're never caught off guard by a bunch of fees that you weren't expecting. You can get to see the view from your seat before you even buy the tickets, one of my favorite features of the app. And they've got their Game Time ticket coverage, which means that any ticket that you have purchased is covered by the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So go and check them out today over at Game Time. Take all the guesswork out of buying your tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Let's get it, Who Dat Nation. The New Orleans Saints defensive line comes to life, and especially thanks to contributions from two of the Saints' more unheralded defensive line players. Don't forget, we are your team every day, which means we got a fresh episode coming up for you yet again on tomorrow. We're going to take a look at how the Saints should handle Tanoh Kpassagnon absence and roster spot. We're also going to dive into how the Saints secondary prepares for an ever-changing offenses around the league. Really interesting stuff coming up in tomorrow's episode. Right now, I want to focus on the New Orleans Saints defensive line. I highlighted for you that moment, that great moment when Demario Davis went out there and challenged this New Orleans Saints defense to get better. And in the process of doing so, we saw a defensive line come out and just absolutely eat. Christian Boyd, big stops in the run game. Carl Granderson, pressures on pressures on pressures. And it was two unheralded guys, Jack Heflin, New Orleans Saints interior defensive lineman, formerly of the Houston Renegades, spent most of last season on the practice squad, was given a reserve future deal to return, number 95. And Isaiah Foskey, New Orleans Saints second round pick from last year, didn't get a lot of opportunity last season, his rookie season, dealt with a lot of injury, dealt with health stuff, all that. He showed up a couple times today in the run game, putting pressure on opposing quarterbacks, got after Spencer Rattler a couple of times. He had what I thought was one of his best practices following last week, what I thought was one of his best practices. So it's very nice to see Isaiah Foskey continue to show up. Now, I've heard that Isaiah Foskey has been working with Aaron Donald's trainer, so maybe there's some good stuff coming out from that, no doubt about it. But man, it was just really good to see all of that and to see all these players go out there. But then you had more. You had Kendall Vickers knocking down a pass, getting in the pass lanes, getting his hands up. Colin Saunders wrecking stuff in the middle, doing what he does in the run game. I mentioned Christian Boyd. I'm going to mention him again. New Orleans Saints sixth round pick. Looks like he is exactly what the New Orleans Saints needed to add to their defensive line when it comes to stopping the run. He is an absolute terror in the run game. And so seeing these guys and this defensive line come to life, that's something that has to carry over into the season. It has to carry over into the season. New Orleans Saints, one of the bottom third last year when it came to run defense. Didn't get 40 sacks last season despite a 17-game season. This is a team that's had at least 40 sacks every season since 2017, dating back to 16-game seasons. And the majority of the time during the 17-game seasons, when they did reach 40 sacks, they did it within 16 games. So what we're seeing from this New Orleans Saints defensive line has got to translate to what they're doing if they want to truly improve in those areas in 2024. And it's great to see it this early, especially going up against an offense now that challenges them in a way that some of the top offenses around the NFL will continuously challenge them. Motion, eye candy, play action, rollouts, unique usages of players, all these other things. Huge. A couple other notes for you. Taysom Hill, again, moving all around. I asked Carl Granderson about Taysom Hill, and he just laughed. And it, went on to talk about how challenging he is to defend and stuff like that. Like, you'll see him in the backfield. Then all of a sudden, you'll see him lined up at the Z, which is that sort of lining up out wide, but off the line of scrimmage, not right on the line of scrimmage, all that. He just continues to move all around. He actually was working with the first team offense as their running back, along with Jamaal Williams. And then in certain cases was out there, at fullback, out there at tight end, just doing a bunch of different stuff. Saints also did a lot of stuff with their fullbacks today. We saw a lot of fullbacks either starting in the backfield and then motioning out wide to pull a linebacker out there. We saw a lot of fullbacks starting out wide, which kind of immediately gives you, like, if you have a fullback out wide, right, at the beginning of a play, and there's a linebacker on them, it's man coverage. You don't even need to move. You don't even need to motion. But if you line up a fullback out there and a linebacker is over him, it's man coverage. If a corner is over him, it's probably zone coverage. And then you can motion that fullback back into the backfield and then make another move if you want to. That was part of what happened in that play where Jamaal Williams laughed at the defense. So really cool to see all the usage there. We also got our first glimpse at how the Saints are going to line up or utilizing and working on the new kickoff rule. They actually had Matthew Hayball out there kicking today while Lou Hedley was punting. So Hayball did the field goal kicks as well as the kickoffs. And Hayball not Hayball. Charlie Smith was doing the field goals as well as the kickoffs and did pretty well, especially in the kickoffs. Did a really good job locating, forcing returns, all that. The Saints' top 2 returners, because you kind of have to have one on each side of the field now. You can't just have one guy in the middle of the field. Got to have one on either side of the field. So their first pair of returners, Rashid Shaheed and Taysom Hill. Right after that, Jermaine Jackson, as well as Alontae Taylor. Then they went to a pair of running backs in Jamaal Williams and Kendre Miller. Then they went with undrafted free agent rookie Mason Tipton, as well as running back James Robinson. So that was the lineup there for the kickoff returns. But they're putting like one on one side, one on the other side, and then whoever gets kicked to is effectively returning. So that makes a lot of sense. There's not going to be as much hang time, as much ability to go and track the ball down. You need to be able to see how your blockers are developing, all that other stuff. So it looks like you're going to have a left and a right returner, or at least that's the way that the Saints were practicing it early. So just some interesting stuff there. Charlie Smith, by the way, struggled today. 4 of 7 from extra point to 49 on those field goals. Shanked a couple to the left. And so those were pretty tough for him. Those were pretty tough. So he had a tough day today. But man, I just got to tell you, like, there's every reason to be expecting something better. Let me say it that way. I think that's really the way that I feel it. There's every reason to expect something better from this New Orleans Saints team in 2024 versus what you've seen, especially on the offense, 2022 and 2023. And the defense just gets better as well because of that. So I'm all about it. All right, y'all. I appreciate you very much for joining us for another episode of Locked On Saints. Cannot thank you enough. Don't forget to go and check out, if you're not already an insider, I highly recommend you become an insider. They got every single note from what I had from OTA practices. We got 3 practices of mini camps that we're expected to be able to be at next week. Now's the time, especially with training camp coming along as well. So go and check it out. You can text Who Dat to 504-285-7473, or you can head to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnSaints and join up. There's also a link in your descriptions for the podcast as well. Helps me get to California, and it's going to be really, really beneficial for those that are insiders while I'm out in California for sure. But I appreciate you very much for being here and being locked in as we continue to bring you what I hope has been great content for you and exactly what you're looking for here over the course of the offseason. Thank you for making Locked On Saints your first listen of the day. Don't forget to go and check out Locked On Sports Today, Locked On Pelicans with Jake Madison, Locked On LSU with Caroline Fenton to see what's going on all around Locked On Louisiana. Thank you for making us a part of your day, part of your routine, for saying yes to me and the show. As always, if you see me, please say hi. Big shout out to my guys, Vincent, to Kyle, and to so many more who have taken the time to say hello. And as always, if you need anything else around your New Orleans Saints in between these episodes, make sure you follow me on your favorite social media at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit me up. Let me know how the family's doing. Let me know how you living. Let me know how you momming them. And trust Who Dat Nation, I'll holla at you. So he didn't just talk about it. He beat about it.